The sun had barely risen when Daniel left Lagos for his Nysc posting. Freshly graduated, confident, and dressed in crisp khaki, he was ready to serve his country. His destination? A remote village town in the northern part of Nigeria. He didn't complain. Daniel believed in hard work. And despite being born into wealth, he wanted to earn his own respect. If you're just tuning in, please subscribe to African Tales by Victo, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us where you're watching from. This story will stay in your heart forever. But as his driver took a detour through a quiet, dusty path to avoid traffic, fate shifted. Out of nowhere, masked men blocked the road. Armed and aggressive. Daniel's phone, wallet, and bag were taken. But that wasn't enough. They dragged him out, beat him mercilessly, and dumped his unconscious body by a lonely bush path like he was nothing. Hours passed. Buzzing flies circled. The road stayed silent. When he finally opened his eyes, pain screamed through his body. But worse, his mind was blank. He couldn't remember his name, his family, nothing. Only the sound of footsteps approaching, and the worried voice of a young woman calling out, "Mama, come quick. Someone's here." That was the moment everything changed. And the man once called Daniel became Sam. Deborah knelt beside the bleeding man lying in the roadside dust. His face was swollen, lips cracked, and his Nysc uniform was nearly torn to shreds. But he was alive. "Mama, he's breathing," she cried. Mama Deborah, her wrapper tied tightly around her waist, hurried over with a bowl of water. Together, they cleaned his wounds, wiping the blood and dust with gentle hands. "Who are you?" Deborah asked softly. But the young man just stared at her, confused, lost. He opened his mouth, but no words came. I don't know." With no ID, no phone, and no memory, Mama Deborah made a decision, the kind only a mother's heart could make. "We can't leave him here," she said. "Let's take him home." They named him Sam. At their humble roadside shed made of rusted zinc and worn wood, Deborah fed him warm yam porridge, while Mama Deborah treated his bruises with local herbs. Day by day, Sam recovered. He said little, but his eyes followed Deborah everywhere, not with suspicion, but with quiet gratitude. And in that small village, far from the luxury he once knew, Daniel's new life, simple and silent, had begun. But destiny wasn't done yet. Sam woke up early now. Each morning, he swept the dusty compound and fetched water from the stream. The village kids laughed at him, calling him city boy with no pass. But Sam didn't mind. He found peace in the rhythm of this quiet life. Deborah would smile each time he stumbled with the basin, or asked how to grind pepper with a stone. Her laughter was soft, like rain after harmattan heat. It warmed him in ways he didn't understand. He began to look forward to moments they shared, peeling plantain together, pounding yam, or just watching the sky change colors. Yet each night, when he lay on the mat, he'd close his eyes and search his mind. Nothing. No face, no name, only flashes, a black SUV, the sound of glass shattering, and cold fear. Deborah tried to help him remember. "Do you remember Lagos?" she asked once. He shook his head. "Family? Friends?" He stared at her blankly. All he knew now was her kindness, her voice, and her name, Deborah, the only name that brought him peace. But far away, in a city full of noise and lies, someone else was already replacing him. In a glittering lounge in Lagos, Linda sipped champagne and laughed beside an older man wearing a bata and expensive gold chains. To the world, she was Daniel's fiancée, the perfect partner, quiet and loyal. But behind the scenes, Linda had moved on. She told Daniel's parents she was working late at her fashion job. In truth, she was hopping from lounges to hotels, entertaining rich men who could fund her Dubai dreams. When Daniel stopped calling after his Nysc departure, she wasn't worried. "Maybe the village has no network," she said, batting her lashes while showing off designer bags on Instagram. But her silence wasn't grief. It was strategy. She had a secret flight booked. Her client, a sugar daddy in Dubai, promised her the soft life. And Linda was tired of waiting for wedding bells with a man she thought might be gone for good. To Daniel's family, she kept up appearances. "I'm praying daily," she said. But at night, she danced in luxury, far from prayer or pain, unaware that somewhere in a dusty village, the man she was betraying was slowly falling in love with a girl who had nothing, but gave him everything. The days rolled gently by like river water. Sam now sat beside Deborah at the roadside food shed, helping to serve hungry travelers, lorry drivers, farmers, and tired traders. He had no training in cooking, but he washed plates, fetched firewood, and even learned to stir the soup without burning it. The customers loved him. "Deborah, your husband day try, oh," they joked. She would blush. "He's not my husband," she always replied, but her eyes lingered on Sam's face a little longer each time. One evening, the two sat outside, watching stars blink over the thatched rooftops. A breeze danced through the trees. "Sam," Deborah said softly, "what if your real family is out there? What if they're rich? Will you still remember us?" Sam stared into the night. "I don't know who I was," he whispered, "but I know who I am here." He reached for her hand, hesitant, gentle. She didn't pull away. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. But far away, in an air-conditioned mansion, Daniel's younger brother was uploading a video to Instagram, a video that would shake everything. Chuka paced the living room, frustration in his eyes. Weeks had passed and still, no word from his brother, Daniel. The police gave excuses. NYSC officials said he never arrived. And Linda? She kept saying, maybe he's on a mountain praying. But Chuka knew better. He opened his phone and began recording. "My name is Chuka. My elder brother, Daniel, is missing. He left Lagos for NYSC and never reached his destination. Please help me find him." He uploaded it with the last clear photo of Daniel, smiling in his NYSC uniform. Hashtags began to spread. Hashtag find Daniel, hashtag missing court member, hashtag help us find him. Within hours, it caught fire. Bloggers picked it up. Influencers shared it. Friends from university reposted. Even strangers wept in the comments. "He's someone's son. We must bring him home." Meanwhile, deep in the village, a customer sat at Mama Deborah's shed, sipping Gary and soup, scrolling her phone. Suddenly, she froze. "Aha! Deborah, come and see this video. This guy looks like you're Sam." "Oh!" Deborah leaned over the screen. Her heart skipped. It was him. Same eyes, same face, same smile. And for the first time, Sam looked afraid. The moment Sam saw the video, his spoon dropped. It wasn't just the face on the screen. It was the feeling. A sharp jolt to the chest. Like a door in his mind had been kicked open. Suddenly, everything rushed in. His name, his life, his brother, his fiancée, Lagos, the NYSC posting, the ambush, the beating. He staggered backward, clutching his head. Deborah rushed to his side, panic in her eyes. "What is it, Sam? Are you okay?" He looked at her. This girl who had fed him, cared for him, loved him when he was nobody. "My name," he whispered, trembling. "My name is Daniel." Silence. At dawn, Daniel rose early. The village was still asleep, mist hugging the trees like a secret. He stepped outside and stared at the rising sun, the same sun that had watched him suffer, heal, and fall in love without memory. He didn't tell Deborah what had returned. He simply said, "I need to travel to the next town. I'll be back." She smiled, unaware her world was about to change. Daniel borrowed a phone from the food shed customer. His fingers shook as he dialed a number he hadn't used in weeks. "Chuka?" There was silence, then a sharp intake of breath. "Daniel? Bro, are you alive? Where are you?" "I'm okay," Daniel said calmly. "But don't tell anyone." "Not yet." He asked for a trusted driver to come, with a quiet car, no noise, no police. 2 days later, a black SUV rolled into the village. Mama Deborah stepped out of the shed, wiping her hands. Deborah watching confusion as Daniel opened the door and turned to them. "Come with me," he said softly. "To where?" Mama asked. He smiled. "Home." And just like that, The boy they saved returned the kindness without saying a word. The SUV rolled through Lagos like a shadow, weaving through traffic until it pulled up before a grand black gate. Deborah's eyes widened as the gate slowly opened, revealing a white mansion with marble steps, tall palm trees, and glass windows that stretched to the sky. "Mama, where are we?" she whispered, gripping her wrapper. Daniel stepped out first and turned back, his voice calm. "This is my home." Mama Deborah dropped her handbag in shock. Inside, everything shimmered, gold curtains, polished floors, a chandelier like something out of a palace. Deborah clung to her mother's hand, afraid to touch anything. A maid greeted Daniel with surprise. "Oga, you're alive? We thought you were dead." He smiled. "Not dead, just found." He led Deborah and Mama to the living room. "Stay here. This is your home now. You gave me life when I had nothing." Deborah tried to speak, but words failed her. He gently held her hand. "Let me show you what real gratitude looks like." They didn't know it yet, but this mansion would soon witness a storm, because Linda, the one who wore his ring, was on her way home from Dubai, and the mask she wore was about to fall. Linda's heels clicked sharply as she stepped into the mansion, her suitcase rolling behind her. Her sunglasses had tired eyes, but her lips were painted bright red. Dubai had been good, shopping, yacht parties, and business meetings with men who gave more than just compliments. She tossed her bag near the stairs and called out, "Daniel, baby, I'm home." No answer. She walked into the living room and froze. Two women sat on the sofa, village women, in plain wrappers and sandals, staring wide-eyed at the luxury around them. "Who are you people?" Linda scoffed. "Why are you in my house?" Deborah stood up slowly, her heart pounding. "We're guests." "Guests? Daniel doesn't bring bush people here." Linda snapped. "What? He's running charity now. You should be outside, not sitting on my couch like queens." Mama Deborah shifted uncomfortably. "We didn't mean to intrude." Linda rolled her eyes and turned toward the hallway. But then footsteps echoed from the staircase. Daniel emerged, calm, clean-shaven, wearing a dark blue kaftan. He didn't shout. He didn't rush. He simply said, "Linda, we need to talk." Her smile faded instantly, because behind his quiet eyes, something had changed. Linda turned slowly, forcing a smile. "Baby, you're back. I've missed you." Daniel didn't return the smile. He walked into the living room, eyes fixed on her, not with love, but with calm disappointment. "I saw the video. Linda," he said, settling into a chair. "What video?" She blinked. Daniel unlocked his phone and pressed play. First, a voice note. Her voice, giggling, saying, "He's probably in some bush. I can't waste my youth waiting for a ghost." Then a screenshot. Her flight booking to Dubai, dated just days after he went missing. Then another, pictures from Instagram stories. Linda, clinking glasses with older men. The caption said it all. Her hands trembled. "Daniel, I can explain." "No," he cut in softly. "You lied to my family. You didn't look for me. You moved on for money." He turned to Deborah and Mama Deborah. "They found me bleeding by the road, took me in, fed me, treated me like family without knowing my name." Linda's voice cracked. "So what now? You pick her over me?" Daniel stood, firm, certain. "She loved me when I had nothing. You betrayed me when I was lost." He pointed to the door. "Leave." Linda stood frozen. In all her plans, this moment had never existed, being replaced by a girl in wrappers, in her mansion, in her man's heart. "You can't be serious, Daniel," she whispered. "After all we've been through?" Daniel's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "We were engaged, Linda. You promised to stand by me. But when I disappeared, you stood by your greed." She took a step closer. "You don't know what I've done for you." "I do," he said, holding up his phone. "And now, so does the world." He turned to the guards. "Escort her out." Linda's scream echoed to the marble walls. But no one moved. No one stopped Daniel. Not even her. She was gone in minutes. Silence returned to the house. Mama Deborah wiped a tear from her cheek. Deborah stood awkwardly, unsure she belonged here now. Daniel walked over slowly and took her hand. "You once asked me if I'd still remember you if I got my memory back," he said. "I didn't just remember you, Deborah. I remembered what love is because of you." And in that moment, with no cameras and no crowd, Daniel chose her completely. The next morning, Daniel stood at the balcony, watching the sunrise paint Lagos in golden light. Beside him, Deborah held a cup of tea, still unsure if all this was real. The mansion, the marble floors, the quiet hum of air conditioning. Daniel turned to her. "We're going somewhere today." "Where?" she asked softly. "You'll see." Hours later, the SUV pulled into a quiet compound. Deborah gasped. Before them stood a brand new bungalow, painted cream and brown, with flower pots on the porch and a small kitchen shed beside it. Mama Deborah stepped out of the car and dropped her handbag in disbelief. Daniel smiled. "This is for you, Mama. You gave me a home when I had none. Now I give one back to you." Mama Deborah broke into tears, hugging him tightly. "And for you, Deborah," he said, turning to her, "I've paid for your school, the best catering school in Lagos. You have a gift. Now let the world taste it." Deborah stood speechless. She wasn't used to receiving, only giving. But for the first time, she felt what it was like to be seen, to be loved not for what she had, but for who she was. Deborah's hands trembled as she stepped into the modern catering school. Polished floors, chrome kitchens, chefs in white coats. It all felt like another world. Daniel walked beside her, proud and calm. "You belong here," he said, reading the doubt on her face. "Not because of me, but because you earned it." She glanced at him, eyes soft. "I don't know if I can keep up." He smiled. "You kept me alive. Trust me, you'll be just fine." Back at the new bungalow, Mama Deborah arranged her herbs in glass jars, her heart full of peace. The sound of birds, not traffic, filled her mornings. No more struggling to feed strangers on a wooden bench. Now, she had a kitchen of her own. One afternoon, Daniel picked Deborah up from class with a surprise in hand. A box. Inside, a custom apron embroidered with her name. Chef Deborah. She laughed through tears. That evening, they cooked together in her new kitchen, just like they used in the shed. Only now, there was no pain, just promise. And for the first time, Daniel felt it clearly. He hadn't just found his memory. He had found home. The night air was cool, scented with roasted corn and distant laughter. Daniel had planned something simple. No diamonds, no flash. Just sincerity. He invited Deborah and Mama to a quiet dinner in the garden of their new home. Fairy lights twinkled above them. The table set with jollof rice, fried plantain, and peppered fish, all made by Deborah herself. As they ate, Daniel stood up and raised a glass of Zobo. "I want to make a toast," he said. Deborah smiled shyly. "To what?" He looked directly at her, voice steady. "To the woman who gave me life when I didn't even know who I was. Who loved me without knowing my name. Who fed me, clothed me, believed in me." Mama Deborah's eyes began to water. Daniel reached into his pocket, but instead of a ring, he brought out something else. The small wooden spoon Deborah had once handed him when he first tried cook. "I don't have a ring right now," he said, dropping to one knee, "but I have this, the first gift you ever gave me. Will you marry me, Deborah?" Tears spilled from her eyes as she nodded. "Yes, yes, Daniel, I will." News of Daniel's wedding traveled fast, not because of the groom's wealth, but because of who he was marrying. Not a model, not a socialite, not someone famous, but a humble girl from a roadside food shed. Still, when the big day came, it was a sight to behold. They held the traditional ceremony in Deborah's village, just like she wanted. The compound was decorated with palm fronds, anchor fabrics, and woven baskets filled with flowers. Mama Deborah danced in joy, wrapper tied high, cheeks glowing. Her daughter, once laughed at for being too quiet and too poor, now walked down the aisle with grace and dignity. Daniel wore bata, simple but elegant. Deborah wore a beaded lace gown and coral jewelry that shimmered in the sun. Village drummers pounded their talking drums. Even Daniel's parents came, surprised, emotional, but grateful their son was alive and truly happy. Chuka gave a speech, fighting back tears. My brother went missing and came back a better man, because someone found him when he was nothing and treated him like everything. That evening, under lantern lights, Daniel and Deborah danced slowly, not as strangers, but as soulmates. Months had passed. In the heart of Lagos, a new food cafe opened, Debbie's Shed. Not a wooden bench by the roadside anymore, but a cozy, modern restaurant that still served Mama's yam porridge and pepper soup with the same love as before. Deborah stood behind the counter in her custom chef coat. Mama Deborah worked the herbs like magic in the back, humming softly. Daniel? He sat by the window, laptop open, managing new business deals, but this time with a different fire, not for more wealth, but for more impact. He had started a foundation to support NYSC members posted to remote areas, giving them shelter, supplies, and safety. People came not just for the food, but for the story. The man who lost everything and found something greater. One afternoon, a young girl asked Deborah, "Ani, is it true you married a rich man who forgot who he was?" Deborah smiled and wiped the girl's cheek. "No, sweetie, I married a man who remembered who he wanted to be." Daniel looked at her from across the room. They didn't need luxury to feel rich, because in a world full of masks, they had found something real. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs this message. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what act of kindness inspired you today. Thanks for being part of this journey. Until next time, remember, even the smallest act of kindness can change a life.